Hello there, this is Oscar Mikey and welcome back to this Granada Re-Reconquista Ironman achievement run. And in the last episode we were able to beat back a coalition of most of Europe. Unfortunately, we made a minor mistake that resulted in us being at war with the Ottomans after all. So we literally didn't get 30 days rest. And we are going to have to defeat the Ottomans with our remaining 16,000 manpower. And given the fact that the Ottomans are the most powerful force in Europe, second only to the French, whom we just defeated in a costly war, this is going to be perhaps my most interesting, most entertaining episode. The good news is, if we win this war, we're going to have the achievement in this episode, basically, because all we got to do is win this war, move into Castile, take its remaining provinces, core it, and then we're done. So this is the perfect climactic end to what has been one of the most difficult guides I've essentially ever attempted. And we'll see how we do. For the meantime, let's discuss what I did just in the last episode and what I'm doing now. I'm ferrying as many troops over to Europe as possible as I can, because I know that Tunis borders the Ottomans and are allied to them, so Ottoman troops are going to start streaming through Tunisia very shortly. So I need to use my 7 remaining transports to ferry my entire army over to Northwest Africa and prepare for the coming storm. Will we be able to defeat the Ottomans? I don't know, but we going to have to if we want to. This is not a coalition war, so the war score is going to be accrued from the objective, which is currently under occupation. Now, the Ottomans also have a very big fleet. That's a concern. With that said, we also have a very big and very good fleet. And so right now, I'm just ferrying over as many troops as we can before the Ottoman blob, the Kebab, for some reason I had a bit of a brain lock there and couldn't pronounce it. The Kebab is going to be appearing out of the fog of war very shortly. So I am just ferrying as many troops over as I can. I have 16,000 manpower left. If I go recruiting a bunch more regular units, I'm going to run out of manpower. So I generally want to save that manpower for replenishing casualties I suffer in the upcoming battles. That's the goal at least. Something tells me, however, that we're going to be heavily reliant upon mercenaries if we're going to have any chance of winning this war. For now, I've got 42,000 troops left to ferry over, and I'm getting these over as frantically as I possibly can. And we're completing the occupation of some Tunisian provinces, but we're not trying to overstretch. We just got one army as the vanguard, trying to siege down a single fortification, and the remainder are going to be in reserve, which I can utilize quickly if the Ottomans appear within the next month or so. And we might as well spend the remainder of the military monarch part into our last idea group, and we'll do that as soon as possible. Be nice to unlock the last remaining idea group quickly. Ottomans haven't appeared yet, but there is a 17,000 man Tunisian army I am going to want to deal with, so I'll muster up as many troops as I can, all the while ferrying more troops over, and see if we could... There they are. Here comes the first Ottoman army, and it consists of no less than 45,000 troops. That is going to be a big challenge to overcome. I don't know how I'm going to do it. Make sure I have my leader assigned to this army that's going to attack the Tunisian army. We do complete that siege just in the nick of time. That's going to allow me to retreat if necessary, which is something I'm probably going to want to do. Okay, abort my army movement into that province. Can't risk the Ottomans reinforcing that Tunisian army. It looks like that's what they're going to do. Oh, never mind. If I actually sit there sieging down a fortification, that might actually give me a bit of time to successfully ferry all my troops over and deal with this. I'm just seeing we have about it appears we actually have about 90,000 troops in total. 90,000 infantry, cavalry, and artillery. Now, the Ottomans have more than that. Probably a good deal more. But if we can just about edge some victories here, all that's really going to limit us is our manpower. And I haven't been taking any aggressive actions with my fleet yet. Even though we're building a bunch of new galleys, you saw I did that at the end of the last episode. I'm just more or less being careful with it, ensuring that I do get my armies across. That's the main goal. Once that's complete, I'm going to move my 40,000 troops here into... to see if I can encircle and destroy the Tunisian army. Here comes another Ottoman doom stack, another 45,000 troops. So if I'm going to have any chance, I'm going to need to win this battle. Now, hopefully... the Ottomans can't enter this province because of fortification, so I should have... Yep, okay, there we go. There's a quick stat wipe. So that's the Tunisian army successfully dealt with. The Ottomans can't move any westwards of Ores because the fortification obviously obstructs them. With that said, I'm going to have to deal with that Ottoman army at some point, or they are going to be able to reach my capital, which could cost me the war. Now, I did use a bunch of monarch parts at the start of the episode to reduce my war exhaustion, just so I could get coring those provinces I've had for ages. Now, you see, the Ottomans do have quite a lot of troops, as you can see. They have over 100,000 already opposing me. Let's say 100. Okay, so they have 120,000 troops right now. That's more than my entire army, a good bit more. So if I'm going to have any hope of winning these upcoming battles, I've got to be able to isolate enemy army stacks. I've got to take them in good terrain. Now that is good terrain, no river crossing and flatlands. So I'm going to stream all my forces into that province, see if I can take down what is a third of the Ottoman army. I'm going to suffer heavy casualties, whichever way the battle goes. We will be using up that manpower very quickly, so I'm going to go ahead and hire some mercenaries just to give me the extra edge. Our general could be better, but here we go, battles engaged. I suffered very high casualties in the first couple phases. Doing a little better now, getting some good rolls here. Ouch, those are some rough fire rolls. Fire is what it's all about now. It's no longer about shock. And I am getting killed in the whole department yet. What, 2 1-9s in a row? This is not going well. We really need to be getting average or better rolls. I mean, with average would be fine, but getting such shockingly bad rolls in such an important battle. We lose another fire roll, but that's a little closer. Tie a shock roll. That's a little better. Win by 4. Still well below average, but if we can keep that up, yeah, okay, we suffer a lot higher casualties than I was really expecting, but we do eliminate the first Ottoman army. I mean, it's not eliminated, but we forced it to retreat. And now the question is who to attack next. I'm going to see if I can move eastwards and take out that small 12,000 man Ottoman stack. If I can do that, I can probably defeat the remaining Ottoman troops for now. Obviously they're going to regroup and there's going to be many more battles to come, but I only need to hold the front line. If I can hold the front line, I can count upon ticking war score to hand me the victory. So I've recruited the first of my mercenaries. Probably a good idea consolidating regiments now, since basically I have no manpower. Now attrition is a problem, but winning these battles is absolutely critical. I'm going to retreat my mercenaries since the Ottoman army seems to be moving into Lagout. With this should be a battle we can win easily. And the Ottoman army appears to be retreating to Tunis. It is. So we can potentially win 2 battles here. Alright. Decent rolls below our marriage, but we do get the stack wipe, so that's going to even up the numbers heavily in our favour. eliminate 12,000 troops, suffer a few casualties. We'll move on into Tunis to see if we can eliminate this army that are just retreating. Now, we get a very bad roll in the first fire phase, a very bad roll in the second shock phase, lose the third fire phase, and tie the fourth shock phase, and tie the fifth fire phase. So that is very disappointing rolls. That's what saved the Ottoman army there. They probably would have been stack wiped had we got some decent rolls, but you can't complain. You just got to continue fighting. And we'll see if we can eliminate this small 14,000 man Ottoman army moving through Gaffa. We've got some mercenary reinforcements. I'm starting to slowly move my fleet across, seeking to blockade provinces. Okay, Gafsa, can we intercept? Well, we intercept a small Tunis regiment, but that's not really worth the horrendous attrition we're suffering. So I want to see where this army is going to regroup. If it regroups... Yeah, so we're not going to be able to follow it. So we'll abort that movement. It is blocked by that fortification that we will not be able to cross. Looks like we are going to be able to take out... No, they cancelled their movement very wisely. I'm just stalking those smaller Ottoman armies. There's 15,000 troops heading into Constantine. Well, I don't know what they're doing. They keep changing their movements up. I'll wait for them to become movement locked and see. We are obviously suffering inordinately high attrition, which is killing our manpower, absolutely. But if we can eliminate a 4,000 man army, is it worth it? 5% attrition from 70,000 troops is about 4,000 casualties a month. No, probably not worth it. I'm just thinking these attrition penalties are really weighing on my mind here. So we basically go even if we're able to eliminate an enemy army, we're losing tons of attrition. Now, if we capture this army, which we have, I don't know where that came from, it sort of just rolled into us. Alright, that's good, that makes it more than worthwhile. And if that Ottoman army is heading into Tunis, we will take that battle, absolutely. Yeah, they're parked there. Bad move from them, because that is very good terrain to attack into. And that's exactly where we'll head. Aragonese separatists. They only have a 3% chance to increase every year, so probably best idea is increasing autonomy, and that will get rid of them. Don't particularly feel like spending military monarch part and harsh treatment. Right, let's move into this province. We outnumber them by about 40%. No, 30%. Oh boy, that's a bad first fire roll. Tie the second shock roll. Win the second fire roll. Win the second shock roll. Okay, so we're doing all right now, and lose the third fire roll, and win the third shock roll, and win the fourth fire roll. All right, so did okay there. Still going about even. We suffered as many casualties as we inflicted, and since we're not really geared up towards this long attritional conflict, that is actually a bit of a cause for concern. It depends how aggressive the Ottomans are going to be in mounting counterattacks, because we have defeated, for the most part, their first wave, but as you can see, there are subsequent waves moving in now, and I'm going to slowly continue moving my fleet across, blockading as many provinces as we can, but trying not to disperse it such to the extent that it's a sitting duck for the combined Ottoman fleet. Alright, so we'll see if we can attack this Ottoman army before there's a chance to replenish its reinforcements. Yeah, so we are going to be able to capture it in this province. Lose the first fire roll. Lose the first shock roll. Win the second fire roll. And win the second shock roll. Okay, so we do quite well here and win the third fire roll. Yeah, we get quite lucky here, and we are able to win another battle, and that will force them to retreat. All the time buying us plenty of time to hopefully get the Siege of Tunis complete, which is the Tunisian capital. And once that's out of the way, there's really only Gadam's last fortification. Occupying those fortifications is going to provide us with some breathing room to counter the Ottoman advance. Manpower is at 0. Purely reliant mercenaries going forward. I mean, obviously we gain manpower at the end of every month, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Man, it is rough having to fight France and their coalition partners and the Ottomans concurrently. I suppose not concurrently. It was a different war. Just at the end of the coalition war we had to fight this, so consecutively, I suppose, is what I should say. Merchants Guild loyalty is below 60%. We can go to interactions, which I shall do so. After granting monopoly charters. Just checking to see if all the trade provinces I added are currently held by the Merchants Guild, and they appear to be. Where does my estates tab keep going? I keep adding it to the toolbar, but it keeps disappearing. It's been doing this a lot. Yes, there's one province it appears. This province is not held by the Merchants Guild. And neither is this one, Porto. So we'll add those both. That can't be added because it's not yet a core. This one can be, though. Should have done this a while ago. That's going to boost our income. Bit of a side distraction. Don't particularly need to be preoccupied by this in the midst of a war, but it will boost our income, which will be helpful when recruiting these mercenaries. And we are actually, as per usual, we're reverting to the sort of take lots alone strategy. Now, I want my loyalty above 60% for this war. Okay, so if we can occupy these provinces, and we got 3 more fortifications to siege down, and we'll just keep pushing eastwards. Why? Because the desert terrain in the east is much better for fighting offensive battles. We want to protect the mountains, defend them, and attack the Ottomans on the the desert flats. Right, that completes the siege. It's going to free up our movement. Probably a good idea moving into Galams. If we can get there before the Ottomans, we can take another defensive battle. And we'll split up our army and ensure that we have as many reinforcements going in as possible. Siege of Tunis is complete. Excellent. So yeah, we are of course gaining manpower every month, but it's not going to be enough to sustain the types of casualties we're currently facing. Alright, here they come. They're going to start streaming in now. Luckily I can free up my troops in the Siege of Tunis to join the battle in Zurari, or Zurara. Let's see how we do. They have a better general. We get a very good fire roll there. Yeah, that's going to swing the battle. You can't survive a 9-0 fire roll if your troops are already inferior. So we do win that battle handily. Thankfully, we don't suffer many casualties, so that will give us a bit of breathing space. I'm going to have to use mercenaries to occupy these provinces now, since the attrition is going to erode my manpower and prevent my 1,000-man armies from having enough to maintain the 1,000-man level, which is what you need to occupy provinces. So that's something to take into consideration. Yeah, we got all those fortifications except Gadam's. Siege, preferably. Ottomans are going to keep hitting us. And we'll send 2 mercenary regiments to complete the occupation of Tunis. And we'll just slowly encroach upon Libya, I guess that is. A slow and methodical advance. That's the name of the game. We have heavily damaged the Ottomans. You can see they only have 40,000 troops opposing us. They're not going to sue for peace anytime yet. It'd be nice if we get a separate peace, but to be honest, we don't actually need one. That's the question. How long do we actually want to continue this war for? Ideally, we want to close out the war as fast as possible. I mean, that looks pretty good to me. In fact, that looks very good. Shall we go for it? I mean, if we're purely concerned about getting the achievement, we've proven we can defeat the Ottomans. We would just be dragging out the conflict, so... Looks good to me. We'll take it. Alright, so that war didn't last long, but I think that it was pretty decisive. We could have... I mean, theoretically, we could have taken most of Tunis, but that wasn't my goal. That wasn't my intention. We proved we can defeat the Ottomans, and we've defeated the coalition, so for the first time in a lot of years, we've actually had a bit of breathing space. And I'm going to make use of that. We'll get these provinces cored as fast as possible. And with the Majorca under occupation, there's only one last bastion holding out against the inevitable rise of Granada. Now, the Ottomans don't appear don't want to ally us, which is a bit concerning. That means we're very much on our own now, but for the most part, I think having defeated the coalition and the Ottomans into consecutive wars, I don't really think we need allies anymore. We're getting to that stage in the game where the unthinkable has happened and we could probably take on most of the world by our own, at least with a few years. I want to complete the conquest of Castile, which we should be able to do very, very shortly. I think it's safe to say, however, that the last major hurdle has been overcome. It's a little dicey there. You can see when we disband our mercenaries, we have 37,809 troops remaining. That's it. Everything else is gone. We used up all our manpower and all our remaining armies, so... Wow, did you see the Netherlands? They're doing rather well. They've actually obviously won a war against Austria since I last checked, and they've got most of well, I don't know, what are the constituent parts of the Netherlands? You've got Holland, you've got Friesland, you've got Belgium, Brussels. They seem to have all that. So good on the Netherlands. First time I've seen them actually pull off a successful independence in a long time. We are doing not too bad ourselves. Hungary's doing well, they're surviving. France is doing strong, despite us defeating them. England not so well. England still hasn't got to grips with the fact that half of their country, Wales and Northumberland, is not part of their country, but Nonetheless, I'm mostly concerned about us, and we are doing better than we ever had. To think we started off as a free province minor faction. We had to overcome a lot of odds and a lot of challenges. But victory is in sight. There goes our... Is that another admiral? Granadan particularists. They haven't caused us problems so far. Get rid of them by increasing war resourcing. Yeah, we want to do that and get these provinces caught as soon as possible. That's the only thing holding us back from conquering the remainder of Castile's territory. Brandenburg's also doing well. So is Songhai. Russia is doing poorly. Ottomans are still doing extremely well. Not well enough to stop us, though. Alright, military leader has died, so we lost our admiral and our military leader. Six loans. Only 6. I guess that's not too bad. Still, it's a lot of inflation. And I thought we had left behind the periods where we had to rely upon loans, but apparently not. Netherlands are doing phenomenally well. I'm going to improve relations with them. Yeah, Austria have been crushed. Austria had been doing so well for so long, but they've just been eviscerated. Even Hungary's taken over part of Austria. Yeah, those rebels are at 90% despite only having a 3.4% chance to increase. So, increasing autonomy here will get rid of them. Almost all accepted culture. Aragonese will be an accepted culture once we... Will it? It should be. Okay, we have got a new faction leader. No, yes, a new faction leader and a new heir. And I don't know why I got 2 heirs appearing there. But to be honest, we're too far along for me to really be bothered. We've got a good heir, that's the important thing. We'd like to get rid of our faction leader as soon as possible. Looks like we will be able to ally Ottomans again if we so choose, so long as we keep building up our trust level and our relations with them. Want to hopefully get my power projection back above 50 once more. And we can send our... That's why I decided to rival England. I knew that if push come to shove, I could send out my privateers, privateering the English Channel, and that would get me a bunch of power projection. Our fleet is doing rather well. We're back up to the max naval force limits. And we're ahead in all technology groups. Glory to us, we've gained a core province, we've gained 5 prestige. See, if you add Merchants Guild, it's always good to add it to provinces where you have a lot of trade power already, but if you have goods produced that are worth a lot, it's also a good idea adding a Merchants Guild, because that increases the amount of goods you produce. So that's why I did it in the iron producing province. Wouldn't waste my time adding it to like a grain producing or shipwrights or fish or any of the low value goods. Yeah, just reorganizing my trade ships here, nothing special. I'm starting to get quite a lot of money from raiding treasure fleets, which is an interesting mechanic. It actually makes privateering very worthwhile. Probably a good idea creating some additional transports at some point. So I'll go ahead and do that, even though we've got loans to repay. I'm more preoccupied about building my army and navy up to strength, just in case. And we are not really many good policies to pick. Truce expires with Granada, 1638. We got 4 years to go. I can probably afford to speed up time here. Lose 416 ducats. Well, that's just going to impact my creditors. My creditors and my inflation, basically. New diplomatic tech level. Yeah, in hindsight, I probably should have waited before building all those ships, because I'm just going to have to upgrade them, unfortunately, anyway. That's not something I normally think about, and probably should in the future. I'm assigning my faction leader as a general and to an army, because that doubles the chance he is going to die. And although I would rather not have a regency council, by the time the truce timer with Castile has expired, my heir will basically be of age anyway, so it's probably a safe thing to do to assign my faction leader as a general. It used to be, I would, when I really wanted a king dead, I'd actually recruit a mercenary unit, assign him to the head of that mercenary unit, put him in a boat, and just leave him out to sea, gaining attrition. So he'll be gaining 1% attrition per month on a boat, and his chances of dying go up like 3 or 4-fold, I think. It's a very good way to get rid of a king. Very useful for the Enrique dynasty. So that's something to take into consideration. With that said, our king is not so bad where I think I'd be bothered putting him out in a single transport ship. It's a much more reliable method than actually putting him in a transport ship and then sending him out for the actual boat to be destroyed. Better idea just leaving him in a boat for years and years and years, and slowly that attrition will do its work. At least in my experience. It's worked for me many times. A must-do strategy for Castile. So we are not actually going to be able to get to hunter relations with the Netherlands, so I go ahead and cancel that mission. And now is probably as good a time as ever to increase our diplomatic technology level. So like I said a couple of episodes, we were really starting to get some bad faction leaders, and sure enough, we're starting to fall behind in tech. That's just what happens. Ironically, having a good faction leader is still the most important indicator as to how well you're going to be doing in tech. And given the fact that it's entirely outside your control, it is quite a punishing and RNG-based mechanic. But everyone knows that already, and everyone's been dealing with it since EU4 has been released. I think in EU3, it was a very different system. You had a series of ledgers, and you basically had a trade-off between technology and economy. So if you wanted to boost your technology really quick, you'd switch all your ledgers into tech and none into economy, and you'd actually lose income but increase your tech rate. Likewise, if your economy was bad, you'd switch all your ledgers into economy, and I think it was your total basically economic power to determine your technology rate, which was an interesting way of doing it. A lot less RNG based than the current system. It's all about the leader. But it was a more complicated, less intuitive system. And probably one I'm glad they got rid of. That and Infamy. If you ever played EU3 back in the day, you will know all about Infamy. And all about the consequences of going above 30 Infamy. That has been replaced with overextension now. Overextension and aggressive expansion. Alright, we have entered to royal marriage with the Ottomans, but they're still not going to ally us. We, on the other hand, are not going to get 100 administrative monarch power. We'll need to boost our influence up a little bit more. We gain a free advisor. And that will do it. I need to start making much better use in future guides of the hiring advisors, because it is very powerful. Interesting. It's going to be hard, it appears, getting in good terms with the Ottomans once again, but it will happen. Our negative relations with them will eventually degrade, because I don't want to rival them. Not just yet, anyway. Yeah, so we are going to have to replace all our trade ships at some point. And we'll start getting to work on that now. Or at least our regular ships first, and then our trade ships. No, even with a diplomatic reputation advisor, we're one relation away from the Ottomans. Agricultural revolution. I usually go for the base tax, and I will as well again. There we go, we can ally the Ottomans again, and I just want to keep in good relations with them, because there's no doubt that they've saved us a lot of times. So we'll let bygones be bygones, and we will ally the Ottomans once more. There we go. And with that, it's probably time we finish off Castile. 1 year to go for that truce timer to expire. That's a lot of interest. With that said, I'm not really worried about that now. Truce with France. Yeah, so begins the 4th coalition. And that is one of the reasons why I wanted to ally with the Ottomans. It's going to be a lot harder for them to attack us if we are allied with them. And we've recovered our manpower actually extremely quickly, which is good. Oceans beyond privateering, don't really care. And France has entered that military coalition. I knew you would, France. I'm going to want to attack Castile as soon as the truce timer ends. Again, it would be a total disaster if Castile entered into another coalition against us, because that means we're going to have to fight France again, and I do not want that happening under any circumstances. Just to be sure, I'll start building more fortifications in my northern provinces and hopefully shut down that threat straight away. I just noticed all our army consists of artillery and cavalry, and barely none of it infantry. So we'll have to use some manpower to replenish our army. Army isn't exactly the best at the moment. We've got 48k to work with. So let's slowly build up those armies. Especially considering the fact that there's another coalition building. Having a strong army will act as a powerful deterrent. Yeah, we might as well take another loan since we're going to be running out of cash. I want to get my merchant ships upgraded now, given the risk of a coalition. If we have another war, we're going to have to consider the possibility that our navy is going to be stretched to the limit. So let's get those merchant ships slowly but surely improved. Just taking a look here, making sure we'll take one more loan to upgrade these ships with. Power projection still 50, looking good. And it's probably a good time, since we're really getting to the stage where we can build up mass armies based on the amount of manpower and just overall economy we've got. Probably not a bad idea creating here a few army templates, which we shall do. And I'm certainly emphasizing the amount of artillery I include in those templates. After all, we do only have 45,000 troops active, and our total army force limits are 101. So let's get working, closing that gap. Mohammed the 8th. That's a lot of Mohammeds. Let's go about refabricating that claim. And the truce timer with Castile should expire within the year. So getting these troops recruited now has the added benefit of ensuring we can declare war straight away. And again, avoid Castile entering into that coalition. That's the name of the game. If we can do that, nothing's going to stop us. And we complete a mission, which is good. Manpower needs to recover. Well, we don't have much prospect for completing that mission anytime soon. May 1638. So 4 months. No, 3 months now if we're into February. And we'll move our army around the north here so that we can go straight into the Castilian capital. Papal States has entered into a coalition against us, alright. Creating coalitions myself isn't a tactic I abuse nearly enough. It would be a good idea in future to consider that as a possibility. Alright, so it ends in May, and right now we're into April, so it's not going to give us a specific day, is it? I'm really cutting this as fine as I can because coalitions are make or break in terms of whether or not we can get this achievement done immediately, so it doesn't give us a specific day. I know there are ways you can find a specific day. You can go through the ledger. But if I pause straight away, must have been in late May. There we go. So it was 27th of May. Declare war immediately. Don't need to call in our allies. We've got claims on all the remaining provinces. Let's go. Move our army in. There are 3 fortifications, annoyingly, but we should be able to complete the investment of those fortifications very quickly. So this battle's going to be foregone conclusion. There we go, get the stack wipe. Power projections drop below 50 again. Mothball my fortifications, not much point keeping them around, to be honest. We'll keep our border forts in case the coalition has any aspirations in conquering any of my territory. Otherwise, just have to lead my armies, sieging down these provinces. Should get them complete quickly, given the amount of artillery we've been able to develop. I guess I should occupy the remaining provinces also. Got 1 breach so far, 2 in fact. This right here takes a cake for the least exciting war. This one, there was a few episodes ago, there was a very good contender, but this one has got to be it. Doubt we'll lose more than 100 men in battles from this war. That said, after the last 2 wars, it's certainly welcome. One fortification remains, and 1 occupation. Wow, we actually get a ton of negative relations for pirating. I did not know that. I've never noticed that before. We are not directly pirating them, but we are pirating in the English Channel trade node to get power projection from Great Britain. But that's interesting to note in future. I will remember that. If you're privateering, you may lower relations with nations in that trade node, and that actually stops me from getting the mission. Alright, that is Castile successfully conquered. Finally destroy their fleet. Moment of truth, will be able to occupy all of their provinces. Of course we is. It isn't even close. And so in the year 18th December 1638, Castile is finally vanquished. Don't particularly want to keep these fortifications around. We can probably actually afford to get rid of most of these, if not all. I'm only really concerned about my fortifications in the border. Either way, let's move our army back south. Get those provinces cored straight away. Whatever. Alright, so Spain is looking quite monotone at the moment. Lower army maintenance. And I'll keep my army in the south, just where it's best protected, mindful of the fact that we do still have a coalition hot on our heels, which has already offensively declared war. Although that declaration did actually catch me surprised. I thought that they had the intelligence not to mess with us. As it is, I was wrong, but being wrong came purely at their expense here. So I'll form up my armies again, just keep them ready in the event that we do get that declaration. And that's what I want. That's my ideal army composition for the time being. 7 loans will pay off 1, and the remainder can just sit there. Mothball the remainder of my fleet. Power projection's a little low, unfortunately. We don't really... Now we only have 2 rivals. We're getting to that stage where it's a lot more difficult to get power projection. Another conversion complete. And a new tech level. State modifier expired. Influence is now 75%. Noble birth. Let's see here. Well, if at all possible, can we get the Emirs and the Merchants Guild influence down? That decision obviously won't be acceptable. So we'll have to go with this. We can't take 10 Emir influence. And we don't particularly want to lose army tradition. There we go. Gonna lower my nobility loyalty, but that's fine. Perm nobility curtailed. Nice to see that there's someone else who's having troubles with their states. Let's see here. I don't particularly feel I'm getting awfully preoccupied with these estates. It's probably not necessary, but I just don't like having my nobility loyalty so low. We can get it at least above 40%. I know it really doesn't have that many negative effects associated with having nobility below 40%, but we've done such a good job keeping it up so high. Probably would be well advised keeping it up for the remainder. And we'll speed up time. Our cores are about to be completed. Another raid of the treasure fleet. 6 loans. Still, that's since the last time I checked, about 2 minutes ago. And there's all our cores constructed. So I think it might be that time. Restore Al-Andalus, or Andalusia. There we go. On pause for 1 day. Achievement unlocked, the Re-Reconquista. Well, that is awfully exciting. It's the first time I've actually done this with Granada. And also probably the first time I've completed a full series to the ultimate goal. Yeah, so I will take it though. That is not too shabby at all. It's looking good. We've got the same ideas, just checking on that. Low revolt risk. We've defeated the Ottomans and France, proving we are indeed probably the most powerful nation anywhere in the world. Let's just check that. Oh, we would need to scroll. Okay, that's a bug. Total army size. There we go. Ottomans, Ming, and then Andalusia. Ottomans have 142,000 troops. Wow, okay, so... But income-wise... What? Oh, they're getting spoils of war. That shouldn't be included. That's deceptive. Okay, Ottomans are still earning more income than us, after all. And they have a larger army size. For the most part, I think we're the most powerful faction anywhere in the world. Yeah, it's been fun, folks. Thanks for watching it throughout. It has been one of my more entertaining guides, and it's good to eventually get one of these fully completed. We're Sultanate. We have the option to reform the government. I would probably do that if I was continuing on. Policies, yeah, it's all good. Well, it's been extremely entertaining, but we finally did it. I'm Oscar Mike. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.